Hello again, and welcome to Bring It On. I'm Ray Tabano, your host tonight. We're glad to have you back here. You're probably wondering why I'm all dressed up tonight. Well, even if you're not, I'm going to tell you why. We have some very special guests tonight, a very sophisticated lady, so I figured I would get dressed up a little bit because that's how I roll. But her name is Jeneen Terrana. She's a very gifted songwriter and singer, and she bakes. So we're going to bring her on the show tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about her music, her career, her goals, and what's going on. So why don't we introduce her, and we can start the show a little bit. Hello, Jeneen. How are you, dear?
I'm great. How are you, Ray?
I'm very well, and I'm really glad to have you here tonight because, I listened to some of your music on your website, and I was very, very impressed. There's a couple of songs in there I really, really liked, And I was reading a little bit about it, I found out you were originally from Buffalo, and you migrated to Florida, and then you decided you wanted to make it, and you came up to New York to start your career. But there's one little part in there that I really liked, the part about your grandfather, when he was singing operas and playing all the parts for you when you were a little child, and how that impressed you and kind of like got you into a musical kind of mode that you wanted to become a singer and like that. Is that what happened?
Yeah, when I was a kid, my grandfather used to come over every Sunday for spaghetti and meatball dinner.
Of course.
And then that was his favorite meal. And then he would sing in the living room for us. And looking back on it, it was such a special time, and I was really impressionable. And I never thought that I would study opera, but actually when I got to college, that is what I studied there, and I fell in love with it. My father also used to sing and play guitar just kind of as a hobby. So sometimes when I was having trouble sleeping, he would sit on the end of the bed and play folk songs, mostly Joni Mitchell. And
it's funny that you say that, because I was going to tell you that when I went on your website and I listened to you sing that song, Caledonia, I had just heard Joni Mitchell on the radio a couple of days ago, and you so reminded me of her style and and the way you sang, and then you tell me that Joni Mitchell was one of your influences.
Yeah,
it's amazing. I was really impressed. I really liked that. I also listened to that live at the living room where you sang "O Sole Mio" in Italian. Elvis redid that song. It's Now or Never, and he did it. It was a huge hit, And one time I was watching a TV show and they were talking about some of the classics, and that's a classic song. How they rewrote them into stuff like that, and I really loved the way you sang that song. I was very impressed by that. I also I listened to all your music, and I just like your style. It was very refreshing to listen to your music. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your influences and where you plan on going with this, and what you like.
I grew up listening not only to my grandfather, but my mother loved singers like Karen Carpenter and Barry Manilow, Barbra Streisand. So I was listening to all the crooners as a kid, and I memorized every word to every song. So as I got older, I found myself drawn to people like that. Linda Ronstadt was a big influence in my life as a kid too. So I always wanted to sing, really sing like one of the great singers. So I focused on that. I started taking voice lessons, and when I moved to New York, I basically started learning guitar just to accompany myself, so I didn't have to rely on a band or anything like that if I wanted to play around town. And then once I learned a few chords on guitar, I started writing. It kind of all unfolded after that. So I started playing around New York a little bit, and I kept getting more and more gigs, and I decided to make an album because most people around me were making albums, and it seemed like it was getting easier to do that as an artist. So I figured out how to work an 8-track digital recorder. I bought one, a portable one, and I recorded my whole first album on a digital.
This is a scary woman over here, because she's like a self-starter over here. You're scaring me now, a little bit, But I also read on your site. I don't mean to interrupt, but the way that you financed your first album, because you're an accomplished baker, and you use that whole baking. You've been on the Food Network and the whole thing, and you use that to with some kind of website. It was Rocket Hub or something.
Rocket Hub. It's a crowdfunding website similar to Kickstarter and GoFundMe. And you can post rewards. So I figured, since I love baking so much, why don't I try to combine the two? And if I have some rewards that included handwritten recipes and maybe some actual baked goods, that would really.
And this
get
is how you
people's attention.
finance your first album.
Yeah.
You gotta love that kind of stuff, man. That is the American dream right there. You take what you have and you turn it into something else. That's wonderful. So how many albums? We have one album here that we saw, your latest one, Fallen. And how many albums have you done so far?
I have 3 full-length albums, and then this is my latest. It's an EP with 5 songs on it.
5 songs on
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And you wrote everything on all the albums.
The first 2 have a couple of cover songs on
Okay.
them, but for the most part,
And
yeah.
anybody I would know that you covered?
I did a rendition of O Sole Mio on my first album as a tribute to my grandfather. And then on the second album, I did Jolene, Dolly Parton's song, and a song by the Grateful Dead called Turn On Your Love Light.
I know that song. Listen,
Yeah.
you know what? We're going to go to one of the clips right now because we want to hear some of this music immediately.
Okay.
Okay? So let's roll that clip, okay? Here we go.
So you played me once again, struck me like a violin, like you pray you lead me on, lured in and strung along with your sad and lonely song. I'll just have to play your part, sipping wine, discussing theater and art, filthy hands and empty heart, looks convincing in the dark, moving in to make your mark.
All right. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Very, very good. You know, we have a special added segment tonight to bring it on. We thought about having a weather girl, you know, come onto the onto the show here, but it gets tricky to doing the weather on a tape show. So what we decided to do was, instead, we're going to bring the lovely Noelle on, our new weather idiom girl. And for those of you who don't know what a weather idiom is, like I don't, why don't we have Noelle explain?
Thank you, Ray. I just first want to say I'm on cloud 9 to be here.
Did I just hear a weather idiom?
Yes, you did. An idiom is an expression that cannot be understood from the marriage of its separate words, but that has a separate meaning of its own. If I'm on cloud 9, I'm extremely happy.
So what you're saying is, it's like a marriage of 2 separate words. So if my wife tells me that I'm a complete idiom, it's a good thing?
You be made in the shade, as in finding things working to one's benefits. Another weather idiom. Are you catching on?
Yeah, well, thanks to you, Noelle, I think I am. I'm no longer in a fog about what a weather idiom is.
Glad you are no longer confused.
Okay, well, I'm confused about one thing, though. What qualifies you to be a weather idiom girl?
Smile, be sexy, and wear a short dress.
I think you might be overqualified. So will we be seeing more of you?
What, my dress isn't short enough?
Well, you know what they say, less is more. And I want to thank you for coming on the show today, and I hope we'll be seeing more of you.
Thank you, Ray and Jeneen. Jeneen, you are tremendous. It's so great to have you, and I hope you take everyone by storm. I just had to get that last one in.
Boy, oh boy.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we'll be seeing you.
Bye.
The lovely Noelle. Let's get back to the music a little bit here. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the musicians that you use in your recordings. This particular song that we just heard, who did you use to do this?
I was playing with a group of guys called the Howell Brothers at the time. It was two brothers, Scott and Ricky Dennis, and then a guy named Christian Smythe on lead guitar. And we would rehearse once a week. We just started doing it for fun, and then it turned into something much more. We started playing out together. Instead of a solo artist, I became, Jeneen Terrana and the Howell Brothers for a while. And we had a bunch of songs that we loved to do together, so we actually went into the studio and we played them all live. So my whole second album is pretty much a live studio
album,
recording, which is a really fun way to do it because you get all the energy of playing together as a group, but it's captured on an album, so it was really fun.
Yeah, it's funny the way things like that work. You start doing it one thing and it turns into something else. Like you said, you started to play with these guys just to have some fun, and all of a sudden, you mentioned earlier that you did a gig and you start getting more gigs and you start getting more gigs.
Yeah.
What that tells me is that you're good, because people are not going to hire you if you're not producing. Before this album, when you did your first album, let's talk about your first album a little bit. You got the money from doing the baking and doing the whole thing, and you got the funding, and how did you put that together?
The first album, I just figured I'd buy this 8-track recorder and experiment with it. And so I got this thing home. It's a Zoom 8-track. I still have it. And I played some guitar riffs, and then I'd add a drum beat and a bass sound and some keys. I'm a very basic keyboard player, so I'd add a little keys in there and some harmony. And 8 months later, after experimenting with a bunch of sounds and recording techniques, I had an album, and I had it professionally mastered because I wanted it to sound, like it was high quality. And then I released it a few months later, so that was really exciting.
Talented young lady. We're going to go on to another song. It's called
Sure.
Never Go. So why don't we just jump into this clip and listen to some more Jeneen's wonderful music.
I always look before I leave, always watch and wait and see. Is it safe to try? Is it safe to hope? Is it safe for me? Watching you as you dive right in, you're all lit up with your perma-grin. No judgments, no expectations, you move me. I never saw that coming, never wanna see you go. No, 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 never go. I get stopped right in my tracks. I get caught up in my tears and fears, and these memories from so long ago, they still haunt me. But somehow to admit to you exactly what I fear, I see my future and my past collide, and they melt into you. I never saw.
Yeah, I like that tune, man. It's got me bouncing a little bit, man. Let's talk about that tune a little bit.
Okay.
What exactly is that song all about?
That song's about, the first stages of love, when you're kind of feeling tentative about the whole thing and hoping they like you, and then you see that they've kind of let go and really, fallen.
They dig you.
And then you feel the freedom to do that back. So it's kind of saying, I never want you to go. And actually being able to express that to someone and not be afraid to say it.
Yeah, well, most guys, a little hesitant about that because they show their feelings. The woman's going to go, oh, this guy's crazy.
I felt that way though on the other end of that. Like if I expressed too much emotion in the very beginning, that might be a red flag, and they'd run the other way. So, yeah.
This particular song now, what were the musicians that you used for this song? Were they the same with the Howell Brothers, or somebody else?
No, for this album, it's called See the Light, and a bunch of friends of mine who are folk artists, they had gone to Kansas to record with this great producer. He's actually Australian. He used to live in Florida, and then he lived in New Orleans for a while, and then after Katrina, he moved to Kansas, and he has a studio on the 3rd floor of his house. It's in like an attic studio. And after hearing, what they came back with, I reached out to him. His name is Mike West, and And I said, I'd love to record an album with you. So he said, okay, here's how it works. You come in, we have a week to record. Here's how the schedule goes. We lay down, the basic tracks day 1, and then we kind of build them from there. And by day 7, you have an album. And we used all local Kansas musicians, and it was so fun to give somebody, a bare song and have them use their imagination to
watch
fill
it blossom,
to fill in
right,
the blanks.
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was really great.
Yeah, some of these producers out there are so talented that they can see something before it exists.
Yeah.
And if you have the talent like you have, and they take that and they open it up for you, and then as they're doing it, you start getting ideas, and it starts going back and forth a little bit, and then
Yeah.
so how many songs were on this particular album?
That one has 11 songs on it.
That's a lot of music.
Yeah.
You did that in 7 days.
We did it in 7 days, yeah.
Yeah, 7-Eleven. All right, man. I'm going to play that number. You know what I'm saying? But so anyway, so now you're in New York, and you've been working in New York, and what are you looking to do here a little bit?
Well, I have big dreams. I used to have a picture on my phone of a Grammy Award. I love collaborating. I love singing all kinds of music, and of course I love singing my own music as well. But I have these dreams of traveling, doing stadium tours, and what I really love is I see how ticket prices are going through the roof, but I'd love to have a tour with a great bunch of musicians, with maybe 9 or 10 or even more than that musicians, where I play a show and I have low ticket prices where anybody who wanted to come could come, no matter what their situation was, and hear some great music, feature a bunch of different people that would play alongside me, and
I'm going to tell you something.
Amazing.
That dream has 2 sections to it. The first part, where you dream about doing that, is a wonderful dream. The second part, we're getting a lot of people to work for low money and charge low tickets.
Right.
That might be
well,
tricky.
yeah, somewhere along the way we'd have the money to finance all this and pay people well, and then still charge low ticket prices.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that's going to work yet.
That would be a cool thing to do, man.
Yeah.
But, I also too, I like to. I don't like to dream big, but I like to dream about things like that, because that's what separates us from the animals. That's what makes us want to do things. When you have the kind of talent you have, and the beauty and the songwriting ability. A lot of people can play really good. It's very tough, to be able to articulate that feeling and put them into actual songs. Put it together and go through all the motions of doing the recording and doing the packaging and do the whole thing, and then go out there and play it. It gets a little redundant after a while, but that's what an artist is. And I look at you and I see a lovely young lady who is an actual very talented artist, man, and it's good to see, man. I know we have some more music coming up pretty soon. We're going to do, I think the next thing we're going to do a live clip of you playing with the Howe Brothers.
Actually, this is another band.
Another band.
Yeah, we put it together especially for this gig. It's at the Green Space down on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And I was picked to be a part of a competition called Battle of the Boroughs. So I was one of the Queens representatives. So I picked all my,
You were the queen from Queens?
Exactly.
All right, I like it.
My closest friends who are also musicians, they were all joined me on stage for this one. So it was really
That's
fun.
great. That's great. So this is a collaboration of a lot of musicians that were involved in the competition.
Yeah, and they're all from Queens.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Why don't we run that clip and see what we got going on over here?
I took my worries, I laid it on him. I took my woe and suffering. I took my sorrows and all my trials. I laid it on him. I laid it on him. I used to walk with the heavy load, carried the weight of the world. My head hung low, curving my spine, dragging around this past of mine. I took my worry, I laid it on him.
Love that. Little bluesy there, you know what I'm saying? You got a great looking band, you know, everybody's like really cool looking, you know, got a singer, guy wearing a hat playing left-handed Telecaster. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff, man.
Yeah.
That was a great album. So that was a competition, and there was like a whole lot of boroughs. You said one from each borough?
Yeah, so that was Battle of the Boroughs. They do it once a year at the Green Space, and that was Queen's night, so I was one of the Queen's representatives.
Oh, it was only women bands that night?
No, just musicians based out of Queens.
Oh, I see what you're
borough.
saying. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then they had a Brooklyn night, they had a Bronx night,
okay.
Staten Island night, and then all the winners from that competed against each
Did the
other.
people in the Bronx night like beat each other up? I don't want to forget. That's what I was brought up in the Bronx.
I didn't go.
You didn't get a lot of musicians back. People like beating each other up all the time. But listen, you know what they say about the Bronx? Only the strong survive. But you know, I'm glad to hear that. You know, that you know, it's just nice to hear those kind of things, like those kind of collaborations, man. You know.
Yeah.
And that's that's why we had the show. We want to bring artists on the show from different musical backgrounds and have different musical ideas, you know, and write different kinds of music and play different kinds of music. And that's why I was like really thrilled. Like I said, I went on your website. I saw some beautiful pictures of you. You know, especially the one in that gown with that big old 40s microphone. You know, I could just see you, you know, on a big stage with a 20-piece orchestra, you know, carrying on, and you have the voice for it. You definitely have the voice for it, man. And it's just wonderful to see that kind of stuff, man. I know we're gonna do one more song called Fast Lane. We're gonna wrap the show up with that. We have a few more minutes to talk a little bit about. So why don't we talk about a little bit more about exactly what's happening right now?
Right now. Oh boy, this has been a really exciting year. This year I released this album, the new EP, which has 5 songs on it, and you're going to hear Fast Lane, which is the one of the releases on that album. I've got to play the Philly Folk Fest this year, which is really amazing. It's something I've been wanting to play for a long time. I also do musical theater, so I was in a musical this summer, a jukebox musical, music from the 60s and 70s. So I was up in Westport doing that this year. I'm also collaborating with a friend. We wrote a musical, so we're trying to launch that this year.
And you're still baking?
I still bake,
Okay.
yeah.
The question now, my next question is, when do you sleep?
Sleep is overrated.
Sleep is overrated. I got you.
Completely overrated.
I'll sleep when I die. I heard about that too, man. So it sounds like you got a lot of irons
Yeah,
in the
it's been
fire.
a fantastic year. Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like your career has been building, and you're getting to play bigger places with more people and stuff like that, and that's always wonderful to keep moving ahead and forging ahead. You know, you got a long life ahead of you, and I'm sure you got plenty of music inside that little heart of yours, and it's going to come out one day at a time, man. And so are we ready to run the last clip here, and what's going on? We got a few more minutes. We got a couple more minutes.
All right.
Okay, so listen, let's talk a little bit more about your next gig.
Okay. Oh, actually, I'm playing this week at an art show that my friend put together for a local artist who's based out of Brooklyn, and she wanted to have a multimedia event, so we're going to be doing, with a couple other singer-songwriters, some music in the round, which will be really cool. So I do a set, and then we take turns rotating through the evening. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun.
It seems to me like you're involved with the community, the musical community, on the folky jazz level in New York City quite a bit, man.
It took a while to get to that place, but once I moved to Queens, I found a really great community of artists there that love to collaborate and help each other out.
That was my
on
next
gigs.
question. How long have you been up here doing this?
I moved to New York in 1997.
Oh, you've been here a
so
while.
I'm
You've been
pretty
kicking
much
around.
a native New Yorker.
You've been kicking around for
Yeah.
a while, yeah. It takes a little while, to
It
get
does.
into the stream a little bit,
Yeah.
meet a lot of people, and like I say, they say that birds of a feather, flock together, a water seeks its own level.
Yeah.
So it takes a little while to get into the community a little bit like that.
Definitely.
Okay, so before we wrap up and play we're going to take her last video and we're going to go out with it. We want to thank everybody again. All the producers and especially Steve Deanna for putting the show together, because we love this guy, and Jimmy and everybody here that does the show for us. We want to ask you to keep on watching. We're on channel 18, I believe, in Westchester County on Tuesday nights at 6:30. Bring it on, baby. So here we go. We're going to play the last clip of Jeneen. It's called Fast Lane. It's off her new album. One of the title songs, you said? Mm-hmm. Let's go with it, baby. We'll see you next time.
Driving in your fast car, looking like a big shot. Boy, you gave him hell tonight. But all your trophies still can't make you smile. Living the express lane, skipping all the mundane. Boy, you make it look like fun. But when the music stops, where will you run? But you're on your way. You wanted this, you said you're on your way. I wish I could have stayed, but there was nothing left to give or take. You're in the fast lane now. Buy another girlfriend, buy another book, and buy another pretty face. But candy on your arm won't fill the space. Make another hit song, champagne women break dawn. Boy, you really got it made. But nothing ever sinks into your skin. But you're on your way. You wanted this, you said you're on your way. I wish I could have stayed, but there was nothing left to give or take. You're in the fast lane now. Looking for the quick fix, looking for the next thing, looking for to numb the pain. But nothing ever seems to fill the ache. But you're on your way.